we did get a random bit of movie news this week, which is that they've not only decided that they're doing this, but they've actually given a release date to a Clayface standalone movie. So that's a weird thing. I do, when they brought this up, I vaguely remembered when they talked about, because Mike Flanagan is writing it, and they mentioned, oh, he'd pitched this back in 2023. And when they said that, I went, you know what? I vaguely remember him saying that at some point, that he'd pitched the Clayface movie to Warner Brothers. And then obviously time moved on. Everyone just assumed, oh, it's gone. It's not a thing anymore. But no, apparently in 2026, we're getting a Clayface movie. Not directed by Flanagan, just written by Flanagan.
Yeah,
but
he said that he's a big fan of the animated series episodes of Clayface, and he wants to bring that kind of vibe to the big screen of the character. And to that, let's go. Like, I'm here for a Clayface movie.
I mean, I don't know if I'm feeling like a let's go from this. I do think Clayface, out of all the rogues gallery, you could say, hey, let's give them their own movie. I think there's a lot more potential with Clayface, so it could be good. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not so sure I'm craving a standalone villain movie. This is a little bit Sony for my taste, you know, the Madam Web, well, not she's a villain, but Madam Web, Craven, Morbius, your Venom, like.
So, do you think this is a reaction to the widespread, like how well everybody loved Penguin? Do you think they were like, oh, Penguin's getting, received very well. Let's follow through with this Clayface.
Not in pitching, obviously, but in terms of Warner Brothers saying, hey, yeah, greenlight it, yeah, maybe the praise for Penguins what put it over that line. That's totally possible. And to be fair, that Penguin show was very good. Like, but it was very good, and it tied into funnily enough, it had some Clayface symbolism in it. Like, Clayface isn't in the show, but there's a character who shares a name that's with the last name Carlo and does put on disguises, so it felt like they're kind of this is like a realistic homage to the idea of Clayface. And
cool.
So they've not said yet if this is set in the Matt Reeves Batman universe or if this is going to be in the wider DCU. Given that Clayface as a character is not that grounded, I would assume it's going to be the wider DCU universe. But
seems like it would fit in with that James Gunn kind of style. He's leading with Creature Commandos, so it makes sense. Clayface would fit in to that kind of overall world, larger than life type character, and just even with just hints of Batman, I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but it sounds like we're going to have this before we get that universe's version of Batman, assuming they're in the same universe, which we don't know for sure at this point. I'm just guessing. Right. So that's a weird choice, but it could be interesting. At the very least, he's a tragic character that could be very compelling, and it'd be cool to see a live action, big budget version of Clayface. So I'm not against it completely by any means. So here's another bit of news that was tacked onto this, is that they've also announced a release date for another movie, an animated movie, which presumably will be a theatrical release, because all those direct-to-video animated movies don't get announced this far in advance. And to be honest, the date for this is kind of scaring me, because they've announced a release date of June 30th, 2028 for this animated movie.
Okay.
Right? Or sorry, actually, the exact phrasing here is a mixed media movie. Whatever that means.
Yeah, what does that mean?
But I was definitely reading animated, because it's Warner Brothers Pictures Animation that's doing it, right? So whatever. Regardless, apparently it's going to tell the origin story of Dick Grayson and Jason Todd as Robins. So I don't know if that means it's like an anthology where it's doing two Robin origin stories or what, but it's called Dynamic Duo, and it's coming out in 2028.
What does mix? That's weird. What, like?
Does that mean like Dick Grayson's is going to be live action and Jason Todd's going to be animated, or what? Like, what's going on? Or
vice versa? Like you do the more fantastical elements of the circus and with Dick Grayson, and then the grittier.
Oh, okay. Here we go. It's a project from the animation house Swaybox, and it describes here what Swaybox does. It's a new animation house from New Orleans that is using a technology that mixes elements of CGI, stop motion, and live action real time performance.
This still doesn't make sense to me.
This sounds like it might be something kind of new. Like, maybe we can't define this until we see it.
Because when you brought that up at first, I thought, well, this could be like Leica, right? Leica did the stop motion, but it's like it's stop motion advanced because they still use computer elements, right, to animate things. But they still everything is mainly done in camera still.
It's all motion captured, is what you're saying.
Yeah, kinda. And here that's. But what is live action like? Are we gonna have like realistic backgrounds with kind of stop motion figures, and then it all kind of blended through animation?
Or maybe it'll be live action actors, but the entire world is CG, or stop motion backgrounds. Like maybe, I mean, maybe this is like their answer to like Across the Spider-Verse. Not that it'll look like that movie, but more like this is going to be like a weird new like style of animation that's different from everything else, and this is maybe what they're going for.
Because the animation style for something like Dick Grayson, I don't know necessarily about Jason Todd, that I could see the Spider-Man kind of stuff working. So yeah, maybe this is pushing that a little bit more forward now. We're making it more tactile, unless
Yeah,
Like
I'm not saying it's going to be the same style as that. I'm just meaning that it's going to do something unique with animation.
Yeah, right.
That's at least from what they're saying here. That's what makes me think of. So Reeves is producing this, Matt Reeves, that is, but it's not connected to the Batman and the Penguin, which makes sense because it's an animated thing. But okay, it's weird they've announced it so far in advance. But when I think about it, though, like Across the Spider-Verse took like 5 years to make after the first one. So if it's that sort of level of animation, maybe that's why. But it is interesting, though. They're saying, hey, we're going to do a big theatrical release animated movie as opposed to all the usual direct-to-video stuff they've been doing for like over a decade at this point.
Yeah, so when you pull up Swaybox on Google, they say that it's also puppetry. So I wonder if that's part of it as well.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that they're going to use everything they do in this particular project, so it's tough to say, but I'd definitely be curious to see what a trailer to this looks like when it finally hits in 2027.
Yeah, because looking at their reel that they have when you click onto the website, it does look like CG, but they also look like... Oh my god, that's weird. It looks like a CG puppet, right? Okay. So like a CG face that you'd see in like a Pixar movie, but it's someone manipulating it through animatronics. So it's almost like Jim Henson meets CG, from what I'm gathering, which for something like Dick Grayson, I think is really cool. Very curious to see. Again, it could end up being a complete catastrophe as well, but at least I'm giving Warner Brothers credit for trying something different.
It sounds interesting, if nothing else, and I'm not sure if it'll be anthology style, or if I wonder if like there'll be flashbacks to their origins, but they're both active. Like, you know, maybe there's like a wraparound where they're both like, you know, Nightwing and Red Robin or something, or Red Hood, I should say. And they're maybe like they think back to their origins, and that's like two big chunks of the movie, and that's why it's got both their origins in it or something. I don't know, but regardless, it sounds interesting at least. I mean, so Dynamic Duo and Clayface were two projects announced officially this week.